full bit. Yeah.
All right. Who have you got apologies from?
I've got apologies from Stuart Wilde. He's in Lanzarote's plane was delayed. Apologies. Blair Ross, who's having to work tonight, and Erin McGarry and David Caven, who are both sitting their prelims and obviously busy studying. So,
also Councillor Patterson, Carol.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any declarations of interest or transparency statements? Nope. Item 1 on the agenda is the minutes of the last meeting. Any questions or comments? Are we okay to agree the minutes? Okay. Item 2, we've got a presentation on the local development plan. Who's doing that?
That would be me. Hello, hi.
Okay,
you hear me?
Go.
Hi,
yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
I've just got a short presentation. So what we'll do, I'm Kevin Dalrymple. I'm from the Council's Place Strategy team. And what we're doing just now is going round the local partnerships and giving a bit of update in terms of progress that we've made in terms of preparing the local development plan and just to raise awareness basically in terms of what we're doing in preparing that plan and opportunities basically to get involved in basically shaping your communities in the areas where you live and work. So I've got a very short presentation to run through, and there'll be opportunities throughout it if you want to jump in and just kind of ask any questions, or happy to take any questions at the end of the presentation. So if you can just let me know if you can see that.
Yes,
yep.
I can see
it.
it.
Everyone see that? Good. Yep. Okay.
Yes, yeah, I can see it, yeah.
So I don't know how up to speed everyone is in terms of the planning process and development planning. So I'll give you a wee kind of introduction in terms of the purpose of the plan and kind of how the plan that we are preparing sits within the overall structure within Scotland. So your development plan for the area is basically your strategy for the use of land and buildings within Renfrewshire. So your development plan basically sets out where housing might go. It might set out opportunities for enhancements of town centres, of open space. It really covers a wide range of anything basically land use related within Renfrewshire. There's been a bit of a change nationally in terms of how we are required to prepare our development plan for Renfrewshire. So previously, the development plan for Renfrewshire consisted of two plans. You had what was called a strategic development plan, which was a plan that was prepared by the 8 local authorities within the Glasgow City region. So that set an overall strategy for the city region. And then you had the Renfrewshire local development plan, which was the Renfrewshire perspective in terms of the use of land within the local authority area. That system has changed with the Planning Act, which came in 2019, which replaced the strategic plan, so the city region plan, with a national planning framework. So the development plan for Renfrewshire now consists of the national planning framework, which applies to all local authorities within Scotland, and the Renfrewshire local development plan. And we're just in the purpose of reviewing that Renfrewshire local development plan at the minute, and I'll talk through kind of where we are and opportunities, as I said earlier, to get involved. But there's a couple of new things that have been added into the system, which are really great opportunities for local communities to get involved in shaping the areas where they live. One of those is local place plans, which is a new power for communities to prepare plans for their own area. And there's also, replacing the strategic plan, there's opportunity for city regions to come together and prepare a regional spatial strategy for the area which would then feed into the local development plan. So just in terms of a quick overview of the national planning framework, so that came into force in 2023, and the national planning framework sets the overall spatial strategy for Scotland and includes kind of detailed planning policies. So there's 33 topic-based policies within that, and those policies apply to any planning application that would come in for Renfrewshire. So what we would do if a planning application comes in, you assess it against the national policies and national planning framework, and then the local policies which are within the local development plan. So the kind of key themes within the national planning framework is all about tackling the nature and climate crisis. It's about creating sustainable places where people can live and work and access services within basically the principle is 20-minute neighbourhoods, but it's essentially people living local within their area. Livable places, again, it kind of feeds into that, but it's about healthier places, access to nature, protecting biodiversity. And then we've got productive places, which is all about enhancing the well-being of communities, all about the economy and economic growth. So now in terms of as I was saying, we're in the process now of reviewing the local development plan. So the current local development plan it was adopted in 2021, and that was prepared under the previous Planning Act. So the new Planning Act is introduced new requirements for the council, a new process in terms of preparing the plan, and the expectation is that all local authorities across Scotland will have the new style local development plan in place by 2028. So the process, you think 2028, that's kind of a fair bit away, but the process in terms of preparing the plan, it's not something that we can turn around quickly, unfortunately. It's something that requires us to really think about what the evidence base is for the plan and what the strategy and priorities are for Renfrewshire as a whole going forward, and what the community aspirations are really feeding into that plan. So it's a process that we're at the beginning of at the minute, and we are in the kind of early stages of consultation and pulling together our evidence base to feed into that plan. Issues that are likely to emerge in terms of the local development plan are land for housing and business, making sure that we're delivering housing and jobs in the right location where people can access, and as much as possible within existing communities to strengthen existing communities, ensuring that the associated infrastructure that's required to deliver that investment and growth is in place. So whether that's schools, whether that's roads, whether any infrastructure that would be required to support development. The climate and nature crisis, so building on a plan for net zero that we have as a local authority, what are the spatial dimensions of that? What do we need to deliver as an area to address the ongoing climate and nature crisis that we're all living with? And then, as I was saying, local living, accessing services, 20-minute neighbourhoods, and really kind of making sure that when we're building somewhere that it's supported by the services for the communities that live there. Town centres, I've not got it listed there, but town centres will remain a key issue. It has been for the last two local development plans. I know it's a key issue for Renfrew, but it's really about supporting our centres, looking at opportunities within each centre, looking at opportunities for the reuse of land within the centres, and ensuring that we've got a network of centres across Renfrewshire that as much as possible provide kind of supporting functions. And then lastly there's the controversial topic which always features heavily in preparing your local development plan, and that's the green belt and protecting the green belt and ensuring that as much as possible there's not increased pressure in terms of developing within the Greenbelt, and ensuring that any development that we're delivering is within communities and utilising any brownfield land that we have. So the new local development plan will be slightly different from where we are just now, in that it will have policies in it, but we've got these national policies in place now. So the expectation is there's no need to replicate those policies. So it's about ensuring the plan is focused on the places. So it's about looking at, well, what's the strategy for each area? What's the strategy for Renfrew? What's the strategy for Renfrew Town Centre? And ensuring that that's reflected within the plan. It's not just a policy document. Ensuring that it's people-centred. So it's delivering for the people that live and work here and visit Renfrewshire. And lastly, it's delivery focused. So previously, the local development plan would have been a 5-year plan. Going forward, it will be a 10-year plan. So the focus now is about delivering the actions within the plan, rather than constantly kind of finishing a plan and then starting the next one. It's about kind of, well, what's your priorities, what's your actions that you've identified within that plan, and how are you going to deliver them? So as I was saying, we are in the evidence gathering stage at the minute. So there's 3 kind of key stages. Evidence gathering stage, which feeds into a gate check process, which I'll explain a wee bit in a second. Then the actual plan preparation, shaping what is actually going to be in the plan, what we're saying, and how that's shown within the plan for each area. And then once the plan's adopted, it's about the delivery, as I was saying, the actions that are set out within the plan. So the stage that we're at just now is that evidence gathering stage, and that's very much focused on consultation and ensuring that we have an evidence base that's sufficient to allow us to then prepare a plan for the area. So that's where we are at the minute. We've done a fair bit of engagement so far, and that's going to be an ongoing commitment through the whole plan preparation process. So we launched a Have Your Say in Renfrewshire's Places survey within our website. That is still live at the minute. So there's a link there within the slides. If you haven't already done so, then I would urge everyone to take part. It is probably a bit longer a survey than what we'd originally intended, but it gives you an opportunity to basically say what's good about your area, what could be improved within the area, and it really gives us that kind of evidence base in terms of, well, what might we be looking to change, what we might be looking to protect and enhance within the next plan. We also launched a call for ideas earlier this year, which was an opportunity for communities and landowners and developers and businesses to basically submit proposals, essentially development proposals for the next plan. So we received 93 sites as part of that across Renfrewshire, varying from community growing ground proposals, active travel routes, to what you would typically see through this type of process, housing sites, business and industry sites being proposed to. So what we will do is we will assess all of those proposals that have come in and prepared in the plan, and we'll consult on all of those assessments that we do to feed into the final plan. We've also been supported by the Council's Youth Services team, and we've been out and we've been into 8 secondary schools across Renfrewshire. The first one that we went to was Renfrew High, and we've concluded that stage of the engagement. We'll begin back into the secondary schools and primary schools next year, and that was really an opportunity for. And it was actually really, really positive. It gives opportunity for the pupils to give us some feedback in terms of what they like about the area, where they stay, issues in terms of the area, what they would like to see improved, what they don't like about the area. And that is all feeding into our evidence base in terms of preparing the plan. What we have said is that once all of this information is collated in terms of the consultation that we're doing with young people and children, that we will publish a report as part of our evidence report, and that will be available for everyone that might feed into plans that the community are doing for the area, where you can get a kind of feel in terms of what the children and young people in the area are feeling about the place where they live. Just run through in terms of the evidence report. So we're preparing this evidence report at the minute, and it will be consulted on early 2025. And then we are required to take the evidence report, which is essentially, as I said, your evidence base for the LDP, to full council. And if it's approved at full council, then it gets submitted to the Scottish ministers. And the Scottish ministers then appoint a reporter, essentially to look at all our evidence, and then we'll recommend whether we have sufficient evidence to allow us to prepare a plan or not. So, as I say, we're working through that process just now, and that whole process is called the gate check process in terms of preparing the local development plan. So this is just a timetable, as I was saying earlier. It's a process that's going to take us to the end of 2027, and you just see that they're the kind of early stages that we're at the minute. What I would say is throughout this whole process, there will be various stages where we'll be looking for comments from local communities, looking for engagement with communities to allow us to shape the plan for Renfrewshire. So we will be kind of hopefully coming back to the partnerships as we progress through the local development plan process to update where we are, and also to get any kind of thoughts and priorities for Renfrew that we should be reflecting within the emerging plan. One of the things that I had said just at the beginning there, I thought I would just quickly run through, and we've had discussions with various communities across Renfrewshire, including there's been some initial discussions with Renfrew Development Trust about opportunities to prepare local place plans for your area. So this was a new thing that's come in with the Planning Act in 2019, and this is an opportunity for communities to prepare a plan for their area that then requires the council, the local authority, to take those plans and take them into account in preparing the local development plan. So it's an opportunity for communities to get involved early in the plan preparation process, but also to help shape the emerging plan. So we've sent out a kind of request for set out an invite for communities to prepare a plan, and we've set a deadline to allow us to take those plans into account and prepare the local development plan by 31st of October 2025. Now, what I would say is that's not a deadline, and communities can prepare a local place plan whenever it suits that community, but we need to set a deadline for ourselves in terms of preparing the local development plan to ensure that those can be taken into account. But as it's the local development plan is a 10-year plan, so it's not, if you don't prepare one by 2025, then the opportunity still exists for a community to prepare the local plan for the area. So the local place plans that's set out in legislation, it must be prepared by a community body as defined by the Community Empowerment. As defined by the Community Empowerment Act. So essentially, community councils, development trusts are the two main groups that you would see prepare a place plan for your area. The place plan must be related to the development and use of land, but that's not to say that it can only be related to the development and use of land, but it must include information on development, and whether that's enhancement of the town centre, whether it's about open space within the area, or whether it's about specific development opportunities that might exist within an area. And it's up for the community to decide the boundary of the local place plan. So if it were Renfrew, if Renfrew were going to come forward with a local place plan for the area, it could be focused on the town centre, it could be focused on a particular part of Renfrew, or it could be for the whole boundary of Renfrew, whether that's a community council boundary or a boundary defined within the local place plan. So just some examples of what the use of land might be. So it could be about land for housing and employment, as I was saying, open space. It could be about conservation of the natural and built environment, improvements to the town centre. It could be about opportunities for community growing grounds or infrastructure enhancements, renewable energy proposals within the area. It's not about non-development matters. So we've given a couple of examples here, like improvements to public transport, activities, events, litter management or dog fouling. But what we are saying to communities is if these are matters that are important to your community, they can still feature within the local place plan, but they can't solely focus on that. They need to be about this development and use of land to ensure that they're in line with the local place plan regulations, which came into force in 2021. So kind of covered over most of this here. Must be prepared by a community body. They can be as short or concise as you want them to be. There's been some communities that have come to us that they're getting consultants involved in preparing something that's maybe more fitting with what they're wanting to deliver for the area, but we wouldn't be suggesting that that's required in any way. It's up to the community to decide what they would want included within the plan. What we have done is we've set out a how-to guide of how you might want to do that, and within that how-to guide, we're going to publish very shortly a draft template on our website of this is what a local place plan might look like, and that would be the kind of minimum that would be required in order to meet the regulations. We can offer some support in terms of preparing the local place plan. So if there's any mapping requirements that a community might have, we can help out with that. We can help out with trying to access funding opportunities, whether that's submitting business cases or just helping you in dialogue with consultants or any professional that you might want to engage in preparing the plan. We can provide some links to evidence that you might want in terms of preparing that plan. So whether that's stuff about land allocations within the area, population, demographic information, we can help with all of that information. We would also give you an opportunity to, so one of the things that you need to do through the process is submit it to the council for validation, and there's certain things that we need to consider on whether a place plan is valid. That's not the content of the place plan, it's have you went through the process that's required by the regulations to prepare one. So what we can do is set out a kind of early meeting just to give you that certainty that what you've done is in line with what's set out in the regulations. And I've included there just as kind of some useful resources that communities might want to use. So there's various how-to guides, whether that's from Scottish Government, on our own website, or on Planning Aid Scotland. So there's just various useful documents that I've included within there. You can also see, if you go online, there's various communities across Scotland now that have actually prepared a local place plan. Some are glossy 20-page documents, some are very short, concise documents. So I think that's me in terms of the presentation. So happy to take any questions or comments if anyone has any.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. That was a very in-depth presentation. Just a couple of things. You said you've had initial discussions with the Renfrew Development Trust. My understanding was the Development Trust had agreed to do this. I don't know, Kevin, are you still with us?
Yes, we are agreed to do it for the Renfrew area.
Yeah, so I don't know whether you're not in the loop there, Kevin, or what's happening, but...
No, sorry, I maybe wasn't clear. Renfrew have come back to us and said that they were intending on doing one, but we have a kind of monthly catch-up with all the community councils and development trusts. we've not kind of moved beyond that in terms of whether there's any additional support required from the council or anything to help with the development trust. But our understanding is that the Renfrew are doing one, but I just didn't want to commit and say that you were definitely doing it, because kind of the last that we had heard was, yeah, you were intending to do one, but it wasn't kind of,
Okay.
it wasn't 100% certain.
Okay, I know there were some communications issues, shall we call it, at the start. Are they all resolved now? Everybody's talking to each other and...
Yeah, no, we had a representative from the Development Trust. We had a meeting on Monday night there. So there's representatives coming. Kevin's came along to previous meetings that we've had, and we're getting kind of someone along from the Development Trust every month round about, Kevin, isn't it? Just to kind of opportunity for other communities to share some experiences that they've had in terms of preparing the local place plan, and for us just to kind of catch up on any questions that any of the communities might have. So there has been representatives from the Development Trust that have came along to the last few of those meetings.
Good stuff. Okay. Kevin, have you got anything you want to say on the process so far, or am I just putting you in the spot here? Kevin has joined us in place of Kerry. So I'm going to put you in the spot. I'm going to go for it. What's your thoughts?
We set out our plans on our social media page the other day with an estimated timescale. So we are giving ourselves a deadline of September next year just to meet the council's deadlines. We're giving it a month before.
Twice.
And but we as a development trust are about collaboration, and we would happily work with the community council to create a joint Renfrew local place plan. So that's...
Watch this space. All right, thanks, Kevin. Kathy, you've got a question.
Yeah, I was at the Paisley Partnership meeting last night, and yes, this presentation was there as well. And one of the sort of main things that came up was the consultation and the survey, and how they felt it was too long and a lot had given up. And I was quite surprised, because the people were talking about it, I was absolutely sure they would be able to handle that, no bother. And also, you mentioned that you might be able to get a consultant to help with this, but it's not every group that's able to do that. I just wondered what the thoughts were in that. Is it too long or not? Do you think it could be shortened? Whatever. Although I must admit, just listening to you there, Kevin, I actually felt a lot better about it, how to guide, etc. But it absolutely came up that it was just too long and cumbersome, and that they had given up.
I mean, I accept that point, Kathy, but having looked at it, I mean, this is a survey for a 10-year plan. You know, it's not a survey to see, you know, what sort of Christmas lights you want. It's, you know, it's going to affect us massively over the next few years. So it is a big survey, but, you know, how do you, I suppose anything can be shortened, but do we lose detail then? And I guess, I think Renfrew's got one of the highest return rates. Is that right? It's got, I'd shared it initially when it went out, and, you know, there was lots and lots and lots of people interested in it. So Renfrew's got a great return rate in terms of, well, comparatively speaking, it could always be a better return rate, but compared to other areas, we seem to have a far higher response rate. So there's a lot of people from the town have gone through it. But I'm sure, Kevin, you've had other complaints about it being too long.
Yeah, I mean, it was that balance between, as you're saying, it's a 10-year plan, and the questions that we've asked within it were the questions that we felt were important to ask and we needed to get a view on. So it was always going to be a bit of time that you would have to take in completing the survey. The feedback that we've had, particularly when we went out to the schools, is I suppose it depends on the age groups that you're talking about. We were looking to consult with everyone, but when we went out to the schools, basically the feedback for the kids was we wouldn't spend 20 minutes a day filling out this, and the best way to engage with us is to come out and speak to us face to face, and that's what we've done, and got really good feedback from
That's good.
Excellent. Okay, any other questions or comments? Nope, I'm sure you'll be back, Kevin, to give us updates. And we've also got Kevin too here to give us other updates. So this is great. We're going to be well connected here. Okay, thanks very much, Kevin. Item 3 in the agenda is entitled Traffic and Roads in Renfrew. Now, obviously, everybody will be aware of the complete carnage we've had the last few months in Renfrew with, I think, 4 major capital projects underway in Ward 1, with the 2 Scottish Water ones, Scottish Power just digging up roads in a whim, and Openreach out and about as well, causing a bit of chaos. Scottish Water, in my experience, have been fantastic in terms of communication. Although their works have been really disruptive, their communication has been really good, and they seem to want to work with councillors and the roads team and stuff like that, where to try and mitigate any issues that there may be, whether that be with weekend working or evening working or whatever. Scottish Power are entirely the opposite, and I guess Openreach are somewhere in between. So Jerry's going to talk us through that. We've also got another major Scottish Power project coming up that's going to be running down Porterfield Road and then branching off. This is a kind of residential HV replacement line. I had a meeting with the contractors yesterday, contractors and council officers yesterday. So it's a new contractor, and they're promising community consultation and all sorts of good things, all the stuff that we look for, where late night working and not clocking off at 2 o'clock and all this sort of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But Jerry's just here to talk about it in general and tell you all about the grief I've been giving him constantly 3 times a day for the last 9 months. And also there is a question from Tom Johnson, which kind of drew me to get Jerry in to sort of tie it in with the roads thing, where Tom has asked. Let me just find it. Tom has asked. Tom's from Renfrew FC, as I said, Jerry. So up at Argyle Avenue, just at the juniors ground, there's a new panda crossing, which was put in as part of, is that a panda crossing? Is that a thing? Was put in as part of the city deal works. And there's been a lot of complaints from parents whose children attend the age group teams up there. So maybe we could cover that as well, Jerry.
Thanks very much, Councillor Shaw. Thanks for the invite along tonight. If I can ask everybody just to hold their virtual rotten fruit for just a second, and I'll just kind of try and talk a wee bit of context first, and then if there's any questions, happy to try and answer them if I can. Just in terms of the context of Renfrew itself, and I appreciate your ward has probably experienced more than their fair share of infrastructure and civil works in the area over the last year or 18 months, probably in particular. In terms of that, some of that's the councils. So where we're going in and doing roads resurfacing schemes, where we're doing our own works, traffic signal installations, that kind of stuff. We can tend to be in control of when we're doing them, how long they generally last, and such like. So if we're doing a big major resurfacing scheme, we try and, if at all possible, plan that in for the summer school holidays when we know the roads are a wee bit quieter. We think about, can we do these works overnight? Again, trying to minimise disruption if we can. Where we don't have a great deal of control is around the works carried out by utility companies. So utility companies that have got infrastructure either in the pavement or in the roads, underneath the road surface, they have a right of access to maintain their equipment. They put an application in to whatever the works may be, say it's replacement of a cable or emergency works. The council actually has very little control over being able to say yes or no to that process, depending on the particular circumstances of that. What we've relied on in the past, and as Councillor Shaw has alluded to, working relationships with the likes of Scottish Water, and we know their works can be very, very disruptive, but actually the working relationship that exists there is really, really good. And we know 9 times out of 10 when they tell us they're going to do something, they do it. And things like the annoying thing that people will see, you know, the work was done on Thursday or Friday, and the traffic management, the lights and the cones are still lying about on a Monday afternoon. Those are the kind of things that we've been picking up with the contractors, that they're the kind of things they need to improve on and get better at. Obviously, one of the big things going on just now is the new Renfrew Bridge, hopefully coming to a close early in 2025, which would help alleviate some of the disruption that's been experienced, particularly around the Shannon Road section of Renfrew over a number of months now. So that's the kind of general context of where we're at, and the kind of process for how we try and manage the contractors. Again, the big utility providers will tend to subcontract all their works out to a subcontractor, so it's never Scottish Water that are working on your road, it's a subcontractor. I think Morrison's was a favourite of use by Spen for quite some time. I think they've just recently changed subcontractor around. So what we kind of then have to do is develop the relationships with the subcontractors as well as the controlling organisations as well. So that is something we're going to have a focus on. Some of the points that Councillor Shaw has made with me recently have been absolutely valid, that our approach hasn't always been right, and we have to be honest as well and reflect on that in terms of our supervision of works and making sure where works are 5 days, we try and make sure and contain them to the 5 days where we can. Now, all reality kicks in at times and things can be discovered in a job under the ground that weren't foreseen, and that's fine, but that should be by exception. It shouldn't be the rule. So that is something definitely we need to reflect on and get better at and try and improve. So that's the kind of context of where we are. I'm happy to take any particular questions. Tom, if I can pick up your point on the crossing. So obviously that crossing point has been agreed at a point in time.
Yes.
That will have been done on the basis that somebody's been sitting in a room somewhere and looked at a drawing and thought, that looks like an appropriate place for a crossing. It's went through its approval process. My roads team are now looking after the remainder of the construction of the Renfrew Bridge job. So that's one I can take away specifically and say, right, let's have a look at this. On a drawing in an architect's room somewhere, that might have looked like a good spot. How's it working on the ground? What's the kind of feedback telling us? And let's do a wee sense check on it. I'm not putting words in your mouth here, but is it because there's a perception that the crossing is too close to the roundabout, or is that what the issue is? Or maybe if you can give me a bit more detail, that would be great.
Yeah, happy to meet on it, Jerry, but in answer to your last comment there, yes, I think the feeling is it's too close to the roundabout. There's heavy Arctic tankers going into Diageo there, quite numerous. And once, they come right round the roundabout and then they're on the crossing.
Yeah.
I'm talking on behalf of the football club here. We've got something between 800 and 900 people using that ground in a week. And there's kids from 5 years of age coming from, say, Kippernuit, which is the closest, and indeed other parts of the town. But, they just dash across that road. And if you're coming round from the Shannon area, you can be on that roundabout so quickly. And even if it could have been moved down a little bit, I think it would have been a lot better. But that road, as you've alluded to, is only going to get busier with the new bridge and people cutting out perhaps the town centre of Renfrew, nipping down to Braehead. So the traffic movements are going to increase dramatically, in our opinion, actually. And obviously, it's all about keeping people safe. The retail park seems to be picking up, particularly the discount food store and the gymnasium. And we're seeing lots of foot traffic, actually, not just children walking down to utilise those facilities. And again, when the new bridge comes in my opinion, it'll pull people further to the area. And obviously, no one wants accidents. And that was the reason for the comment, Jerry.
No, that's great, Tom. And that kind of makes sense because, again, my roads team always criticise me because I'm not a roads engineer. So I'm always challenging them to try and think a wee bit differently at times. And it's a common sense thing from a roads engineer's perspective is to look at what's a desire line. So if you're coming along in Shannon Road, closest position to the roundabout to get safely across, they're maybe not taking into the context the destination of where all these people are actually going to. So that's something we can take away and have a look at, Tom.
Yes, no, Jerry, that's excellent. Enough said on that particular point. If you do that for me, delighted.
Right, okay, that's not a problem. We can look at that. What I did forget to say is the amount of roadworks that have been delivered by my own team is largely down to the councillors on the call from Renfrew lobbying me that hard for years over the years that have been doing so much work in Renfrew. But in terms of, we want to make sure that there are works going on, but I appreciate our planning and coordination of that could be better to make sure we're not doing them all in the same time and kind of trying to space them a bit better to try and kind of plan that a bit.
Okay. Just a little bit off piece, Jerry. I don't think that the new set of lights or the phasing of the lights down near the Pickeramonda, I don't really think that is the ultimate solution, in my opinion, for that junction.
Yeah, I don't think Jerry's ever been on the piste, Tom. So we'll probably leave that one out. But I think I mean I've had several conversations with Jerry about the lights down at St Andrew's Cross, and it was a massive failure, and the part of the roads team in terms of how the town was prepared for that, in my opinion, in terms of signage which didn't turn up until a week and a half later, and just simple things that could so easily have made it a much simpler transition. But I know they are working on it, and they changed some timings. I think there's probably some other timings to be done, but for the most part, from Shannon Road to Glebe Street, it seems to work now. It's the other bits which are causing some confusion. So is there any updates on it, Jerry?
Yeah, so again, our team have been out looking at that again this week. The timings seem to be working a bit better. The pedestrian crossings, I think that was one of the kind of concerns as well around the pedestrian crossings. So we've been keeping an eye on the timings there. They appear to be working. But again, I don't think we didn't go into this thinking this was going to solve all of the problems at this really complex junction. We've went into it with the thinking of this, can we try and make it safer? Can we try and make it operate a bit better for everyone? It appears to be working like that just now, but we're not going to just walk away thinking that's it, the job's done, let's move on to our next one. So I think Councillor Shaw has been in contact with me just for us to keep an eye on things. Let's see if there's things and tweaks we can make to make it work better, we'll do so. But if there are obviously comments and questions getting raised, then myself or one of my team will be happy to come back and answer anything on that.
Some time ago, if I could just come back in there was a more radical proposal that came up many moons ago, actually, to move the actual memorial back into the piece of ground behind what at that time was a chip shop and open up that whole corner, but it was probably too expensive to do.
Right.
I think I'm sure there was a plan fairly recently. I think the plan for the when they were applying for UK government funding for the swimming baths in the police station, I'm sure that had some sort. They were kind of looking forward to possibly when the metro comes through town, as to how that would be dealt with there. And I think that included some sort of slip road there. We don't own that piece of ground that I'm aware of behind, and that was a problem before.
It was, yes, it was
behind the postal site. So it's obviously an income stream for somebody, but it's difficult. I mean, it's a difficult junction, just the way it's laid out. No matter what you do, I mean, quite often we get people saying, you know, bring the roundabout back. But if anybody can remember Glebe Street in the days of the roundabout, it was horrific, and I'm sure there was a fatality there as well. Not long before the move to the new junction. So no, it's interesting. The issue with the pedestrian crossing and the issue with the kind of filter lanes, again, these were fairly simple things that could have been communicated beforehand, where it turns out they're all sensor controlled. But nobody knew they were sensor controlled. I don't think you even knew they were sensor controlled,
no.
Jerry. You know, so that's a problem. You know, these are simple things that could have been dealt with beforehand, and you know, a bit of education. And because as I remember looking at it, I was watching. You know, I was down a couple of early mornings, and there was kids going to school, and I was watching them crossing the road, and they were going across the road fine, the Green Man, but it was just. But it turns out that, you know, if somebody's, you know, slower or got a disability or whatever, the sensor's going to hold the traffic until such time as they're off the crossing. But nobody knew that, you know. So it's just a newfangled crossing, and it's the same with the filter lane. You know, there's a sensor there, so you've got to be actually in that box, or it's not going to come on. So all the people that are complaining about the filter not coming on, it was just down to not knowing there was a sensor there. So hopefully some lessons learned for the next time you change it, Jerry. Give it about a year. Kathy, you got a question?
Yeah, Jerry, I'm sure we're getting there. Yeah, but going up to the other end of town, up at Wright Street, and I hate to ask you this because you know I'm always sort of talking about it. I know there's a development up the top, and there's always a sign at the bottom saying, or there was a sign at the bottom saying no through road. And we were hoping to get that back on, but from what I can gather, there's been some delay with the developer up there, and I'm taking on board what you said, that you're not always in control of the situation, but it seems to be going on for an awful long time, Jerry.
Yeah, no,
Just a wee update on that.
I do appreciate that, and the stopping up on Wright Street is something that we as a roads team are really keen to do. When the original, and apologies for boring everybody here, when you change the layout of a road, you do it under a traffic regulation order that gets full consultation. When the original one that was promoted as part of this works here was promoted for the new bridge, it was promoted it was an order under the Town and Country Planning Act. So it was promoted by our planning team rather than my roads team. So that there's a couple of kind of legal technicalities that the team are trying to work through with them just now. If it was us, it'd be more of a straightforward route to kind of changing that. We're really keen to do it. We realise the impact that the HGVs in that area has on the residents, and it's something we're keen to try and change. So apologies, Councillor McCune, if you can bear with us, it is something we're keen to pursue, and we'll get an update from our colleagues in planning as to how quickly we can get that moving.
That's great, Jerry, you know, because taking on board as well, that's a cycle path and pedestrian walkway too that's getting held up. But yeah, okay, thanks, Jerry.
Okay, Lisa Marie.
Thanks, John. Not to go back to St Andrew's Cross for too long, but I just wanted to comment on it from a disabled pedestrian perspective. It makes me laugh because people on this call don't see John sends me messages at 7 o'clock in the morning when he's driven through the junctions and there's something wrong with it. And I like to walk through them a couple of times a week. So I've been trying out the junction, and Jerry will tell you when the junction was the way they were before. I've once sent him an email because I waited 8 minutes and then just had to transit to get across. And I do think they're better now. I think it's people's understanding of how it will work that's the thing that had to be key for me. Actually, the Green Man not beeping at me and then stopping when I'm like 2/3 of the way across the road makes me less anxious. It's different for different people, but I do think as a pedestrian, it feels more intuitive. People just have to get used to the way it works, I think.
I appreciate that.
All right, and I'll put you in the spot, Jerry. Are you going to give us a world exclusive and tell us you're opening up the link road before the bridge opens in 2026? I mean 2025, sorry.
Do I get quoted in the Renfrew Gazette or something if I say such thing, and that's me held to
Listen,
this?
It'll be my Facebook page in 8 minutes. So.
Remember, this meeting is being recorded, everybody. I will remind you, and it will be posted.
So I think what we're keen to do is we're keen to open the road as soon as realistically possible for the road to open. We are not hell-bent on waiting for the bridge to be finished before we get the road open. So once the surrounding infrastructure's ready and it's up to standard for us as a roads authority to take that on, we'll be happy to do so and open it up.
We can get a job as a politician, Jerry. We really could. Okay. I've not seen any other questions or comments. Thanks very much, Jerry. That was really interesting. Well,
Okay,
apart from the wee bit about the Town and Country Planning Act, that was a bit boring. So, but thank you. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks for your time. Cheers. Thanks again.
Okay,
folks.
Hopefully that was helpful. Item 4 on the agenda is the Renfrew. This is a long meeting tonight. The Renfrew local partnership priorities. There's a paper there. Does anyone have any questions or comments on what's being proposed? Are we okay to approve the priorities?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, that was easy. I've lost my agenda. Hang on a sec. So, item 6 on the agenda is a mid-year check-in with projects awarded Renfrew Local Partnership funded. I don't have a paper for this. Is somebody talking on this?
I think you might have skipped an item, Councillor Shaw. The next one was
the
update
paper.
Update.
Yep. Sorry, Renfrew Local Partnership update paper.
Do you want me to speak to that, Councillor Shaw?
Yes, please.
Yep, okay. So this is just a paper to bring the Renfrew Local Partnership up to date with some of the recent developments that we've had. So within that, you'll notice that we've got includes a budget monitoring report for local partnership grant funding. I'll come into that in a minute. The local partnerships development programs. So you'll be aware that we've undergone a period over the last year or so to review and update local partnerships. We've reviewed and refreshed the membership of all the local partnerships, including Renfrew Local Partnership. We're currently up to date or full in terms of the membership of Renfrew Local Partnership. And one of the key things that we've done is enhance our officer capability by recruiting a local partnerships development officer. And you will be, as a local partnership, familiar with the successful candidate who is Kerry Russell. Kerry's here tonight. Kerry, you want to give people a wave? There she is. So Kerry will now be in a position. She joined us, we think maybe about 6 or 7 weeks ago now. And Kerry will be in a position to make local partnerships and the development of them her day job now. So it means that we've got enhanced capability to really do some of the work that we've always planned to do in terms of taking forward priorities and doing bits of work in between the local partnerships. So no pressure, Kerry. We've got a lot of work for you to do, but we're very pleased to see you in place again. I was also wanting to report on winter connections. So we've had winter connections last year. We then had summer connections, and we're now back to winter connections as well. The applications opened and then shut quite quickly after that because we're inundated with community groups looking to run winter connections programs. There are winter connections programs running in Renfrew Library, but also 2 specific ones running in Renfrew. So one's at Renfrew Trinity Church. It's called Light Bites at Renfrew Trinity, and it takes place on the first Saturday of each month, except December, and that's from 9th November to 3rd of May 2025, and it's from 12 to 1 p.m. And you'll get a couple of soup, sausage rolls, sandwiches, cakes, tea and coffee, all those kind of things there as well. The second project is Renfrew YMCA's Renfrew Connect and Chat. So the YMCA building will be open for 1 morning, 1 afternoon a week for families and children to come and play, and for adults to connect with each other. And that's open from October 2024 to March 2025. It's looking to support around 45 older adults, 40 adults and 40 children. So hopefully Renfrew citizens will see the benefit of those projects as well. And there's a winter connection section on the Renfrewshire Council website. So if you wanted to check what's on, then you can do so there. And there's sort of contact to those groups there as well. So in terms of the local partnership budget monitoring report, which is at page 12 of your agenda there, we currently have, as Renfrew local partnership, available budget of £39,096.10. All the projects that you awarded funding to have received their funding, with the exception of Renfrewshire Schools Pipe Band Parent Fundraising Committee. So we're just waiting on some of the paperwork being squared off for that. And it's the same with Celebrating Renfrewshire as well. The only one, excuse me, that we're awaiting documents for is Paisley Pirates Supporters Club, and everyone else has been paid there. And that's really the end of the update report. Happy to take any questions you've got.
Okay, any questions or comments? So £39,000 left over, Stuart, is that right?
Yes, yes.
I think, as in previous years, I think it's possibly we'd like to make a suggestion as to putting that money aside for perhaps some sort of feature or mechanism which would bring some life into Robertson Park Pond. So whether that be some sort of fountain or just some sort of aeration thing. The Development Trust had looked at it previously, and I think they were keen to progress with something like that. So if the partnership is in agreement, I think obviously there's still a couple of funding applications to come, so they would come off that. But whatever the balance is, because I don't think the balance will cover it. We'll probably have to do this over 2 years. If the partnership's in agreement, then I would propose that we put the remaining funds to that, so we don't lose it. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay with that? Gordon, you're shaking your head. Are you not okay with it?
I'm perfectly. It was me that suggested it in the first place.
Not to me,
Years
Gordon.
ago.
All right, okay.
Enough. When we were in the Development Trust, and we approached the council to do it, and they came back and said no, there was no electricity there, so they couldn't do it.
Right, okay. Well, certainly I've been in discussions with the Development Trust lately, and we're happy to put this aside and work in this project. So I guess we'll see how it goes.
Delighted.
Yeah, let's not lose it.
Sorry?
Let's not lose the money.
No. I mean, we wouldn't lose the money. It would just go back into the common good, Tom. But it's, as I say, it's better being used than the development trust recently have been very active and running with these sort of projects. So long may it continue. Okay, so we're going to give it that. Item 6 in the agenda.
Sorry, Councillor Shaw, to interrupt you, but there was two
Yep.
hands up. Councillor Hughes had her hand
All
up,
right,
and also
sorry,
Stuart Graham had their hands up.
Kathy.
Sorry, Councillor Hughes.
I'm not seeing any hands up here.
John, my Teams is also being a wee bit funny, so we might be having glitches. I was just going to support it. I think it's a great idea. As you've said, the Development Trust and the kind of friends of among them have done great work in the park, and there's some lovely stuff, including the sensory garden and the new lights, and I think to do something to the pond would be brilliant. We've collectively managed to do such good things in the park, and it's a real asset. I was just going to comment that I have a friend who's moved here very recently and commented on how brilliant the park was and how lucky we are to have it in Renfrew. So I think enhancing it as much as we can is what we should do.
And don't forget the dog run.
Well, we actually went to the dog run and both went home with two very dirty dogs, but that's Charlie for you.
Good stuff. Stuart.
It's just an update, and Emma kindly messaged me to say that the Paisley Pirates Supporters Club, that's now been signed off to be paid as well. So if it's not with them, that'll be with them. That award will be with them very, very shortly.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. No other questions or comments. So item 6 now. I don't have a paper, Stuart.
Yeah, it was just a short verbal update, Councillor Shaw. It was just to say that If the members remember, we, as a local partnership, you asked to have a mid-year check on the groups that had been awarded local partnership funding, just to see how they were getting on and any progress that was being made. So last week and this week, we've contacted the groups. Kerry's put together a short questionnaire for them, just to get some information, just to see if projects have started or if there's any difficulties that we can help with or support with. So once that information's back in, we'll circulate that to the groups. But it's just to let you know that we'd picked that one up.
All right. Things are not working well tonight. Hang on a sec. So item 7 on the agenda is the applications for local partnership funding to Renfrew Local Partnership, which was the supplementary agenda that came out. There was an application from Our Place, Our Families, and one from Arkleson Humane's Over 60s Club. So Arkleson Humane's Over 60s Club first. Can I just say, what a difference in the application from Arkleson Humane's Over 60s Club, and I think this shows the benefits of having a local partnership development officer. Kerry was able to work with the group and actually outline what it is that they're looking to do here. And there's so much more detail, and when you read it, it's really good. Whereas previously, applications could be very short, and at times we did have difficulty in agreeing to awards. So this is a great application, and it's great to see some of the stuff going on. So unless anybody's got any concerns about it, I'd be happy to move that we approve this application. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Kathy?
Kathy's got her hands up, but
I've said Kathy.
No,
I've said Kathy.
John, I'm glad to hear that the application is much better. That's absolutely brilliant. And I just want to say I have nothing but admiration for this group. Absolutely. How they manage to pull this off every week is fantastic. And I've been able sometimes to maybe pop in, and I've watched the My Bus coming up and letting people off, bringing them back again, and it's becoming so successful. It's always packed that they're actually having to turn people away sometimes because there's no more room. So I'm delighted to see this here. And I would also ask that you round up the figure to 2,000. That's not much more, but I can assure you, John, that money will be well spent, and it is absolutely fantastic for the older community there.
No,
I don't think I'm asking too much, John.
Well, we don't do donations from here, Kathy. So
Right.
they've applied for £1,840, and they're getting £1,840. You must agree that the quality of the application is much better than we've had previously.
John, I totally, I'm with you 100% in that, and I'm glad to see this. But I think I'm almost sure we could consider rounding it up to that figure. I'm quite sure this is done in other partnerships. I don't know why would be any
Kathy,
different.
I can't, they've applied for a sum of money for a reason. If they wanted £2,000, they would have applied for £2,000. I don't want to set a precedent where, somebody comes along and says, well, I want £6,000, and somebody else says, well, let's give them £10,000. I appreciate it's only a small sum of money, but we're giving them what they've applied for, Kathy.
Okay, it's a very small sum of money, John, but I'll take on board what you said. That's fine. Thank you.
So next up, we have Our Place, Our Families, who have applied for £4,993.18. As I understand it, this application was supposed to go to the Winter Connections fund.
Sorry, Councillor Shaw. I think Councillor Gray had his hand up there. I don't know if you've seen that.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm not seeing any hands up here. So, Councillor Gray.
No, it's okay. I was really just going to echo what Kathy said. I do a bit of things for the over 60s. I supply a bus and pay for a bus myself for their outings and stuff like that. And they don't feel obliged to ask for money for some reason. So I was quite understanding what Kathy's saying. I was just wondering if would maybe have a look at that.
We're not about making donations, John. We all, we can all say, well, let's put some money here or there or whatever. It's not a donation. It's you have to come to the partnership in detail, exactly what it is you're looking for, and we take it from there.
I understand that. I'm just as a good wee club. It's just I think that they're quite reluctant into asking for stuff for some reason.
I mean, Kerry sat down with them and went through the application in detail. So I think there's probably more stuff in this than perhaps they were looking for previously. So they've been able to sit down and detail it. So, it's not, we've got lots of great wee clubs in the town. So I don't think we should be rounding up applications where, when they end up, somebody might not be happy that they didn't get rounded up. So if somebody's applying for something, we should stick to what they're applying for. Okay, so are there anybody else want to speak? I'm not seeing any other hands up. No. Okay, Our Place, Our Families, £4,993.18. As I said, this was meant to go to Winter Connections, but missed the deadline. So unfortunately, it didn't go there, and it's now come here. I have some probably issues on this one. In terms of, this is a year-long award that they're looking for, when in fact the award should be for this financial year. So there's only 3 months left, or 4 months left of this financial year. So if they want to continue their project, then they should be applying for new funding come the new financial year. We've got a new local partnership in May, which we'll be making it's May, or is it April? Kerry, can you remember? Sure.
It's April.
April
this year.
April. So we've got a local partnership in April that we can apply to for the following financial year. So with everything where it says 50, I would suggest we take that down to however many weeks are left in this financial year up to the beginning of April. I'm also concerned about these volunteer expenses, which make up nearly 20% of the application cost. The stationery, £500. Again, is another concern. All the other, equipment that they're looking to buy, and t-shirts and aprons and stuff like that is all fine. But I don't know what anybody else thinks about the kind of stationery and volunteer expenses. Anybody else got an opinion on it? John?
My hands up, John, and I'm kind of the same thinking as you. I kind of stuck my throat when I read about the stationery and stuff like that. Just some of the prices. So I'm totally in agreement with what you're saying.
Did someone else have their hand up?
Kevin.
Yeah, I have.
Kevin.
Kevin and Councillor Hughes.
Thanks. Kevin.
Go on, me. Sorry. I agree with you, Councillor. What flagged for me was again the £500 stationery cost. That's quite an astronomical figure for stationery. Also the again, you raised it at the start as well, the yearly. So I thought it was done by financial year. That it's been clarified that it is. And also the rent at £800. I was of the impression that Our Place and Families had, like, that was their centre. So I'm not sure why the rent is sitting at £800. And then just in terms of stuff like tablecloths and water flasks, I assume they would be one-off purchases and we wouldn't see in any future funding application. And then it just leads on to a bit of more like something collaboration. So what if community groups work together in terms of stuff like water flasks and tablecloths, and it means you could take a targeted approach in any future funding applications where the funding can be targeted, where community groups are sharing resources and that have been funded by local partnerships. That's everything that I had.
I think, I mean, I can understand why they want their own equipment to run this, particularly if it's going to be a weekly occurrence. And for things like, small things like soup containers and flasks and stuff like that, might be quite difficult to work together. But looking back at the kind of priorities for the new priorities talks about, groups working together for projects and, running things in the town. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of that, because that's that's going to get you some funding if you're working together, perhaps even a wee bit more funding, if you can justify it. So I don't have any issues with the equipment. You know, it seems like a good project if it kicks off. There's big numbers they're talking about, but as I say, you know, I did have some concerns, and the rent is, you know, it was one of my concerns as well. I don't know if they're actually. I don't know what the setup is with one of our place our families in the Arkelson Newmains Community Centre. Kerry, are you aware of any how it works? Or?
I don't know, but I did feedback to our place our families. Councillor Shaw that that we normally the local partnership wouldn't consider ongoing costs like rent. It would kind of be if it would be something that would maybe be discussed. So I did make them aware that they may want to think about that when they put it in the application. And it also did highlight about the stationery and the volunteers costs. So it should be in the application summary that you've got, just the information that provided to say it was for like transport, and the stationery was towards I think it was a printer hire cost and stuff. So in terms of the rent, I couldn't answer, to be honest.
Okay, it seems like a fairly, you know, they've worked out a number over a number of weeks to come to the travel costs. I don't know. I just think, you know, it's a large percentage of the application. It's you know, any group could come along and say, well, here's our volunteers' travel costs, and then all of a sudden we're paying out lots of money in basically what is ongoing expenses. So I think, you know, we can probably take that out and take out the stationery, or if you want to reduce the stationery and, you know, make it £100 or whatever, then, you know, there's a possibility of doing that. In terms of the rent, you know, if we make the award based on the 4 months, and take out the volunteer expenses and the stationery, or if we want to make an award on stationery, if in terms of the rent, if we could confirm that they're actually paying this rent to the community centre, then, you know, we could make the award, because it is, you know, it is a separate project, I suppose. So rather than a group's ongoing expenses, you know, they're not looking for us to pay them the rent, you know, for their use of an office or a shop or whatever. They appear to be hiring a hall for a particular project. So I suppose you could argue that perhaps could be valid. So, Lisa Marie?
Yeah, John, I don't disagree with anything you've said, and I thought Kevin's points were very salient as well. I feel like the stationery cost is a bit exorbitant, and I understand it includes something like printer rental, but we should be encouraging people to be a bit more paperless. I feel like this isn't really encouraging that. I wouldn't disagree with paying something towards stationery, so I think what you suggested around £100 is normal. The volunteer expenses feel a bit like we're straying into paying staff for me, and I know it's not the same thing, but it's something we've been very strongly against in this partnership, and I feel like you're straying into that. And then in terms of the rent, I think your point's correct as well, but I would pro-rata everything at the kind of 4 months rather than the whole year, because we don't want to be straying into multi-year payments.
Okay, so well, that's the proposal then. We remove the volunteer expenses and make an award of £100 for stationery and seek confirmation in the rent. The rent would only be for 4 months rather than the year that they've got there anyway. So if everybody's okay with that, then we can agree. Is that okay? John, were you wanting to come back in, or your hand's still up? I'm seeing hands now.
Oh no, that's just a legacy. It's a legacy.
A legacy hand.
Sorry.
All right. Good stuff. So I'll leave Stuart and Kerry to work out the actual. So is that us, or have we got one more item? No, item 8 is the timetable for meetings for the local partnership in 2025. So as you'll see, there is the meeting in April, which I think had been a bit of a concern previously, where the funding meeting was taking place later and later in the year, which was causing grief for some local projects. So we'll have it in April this year, and I'm told that the whole process, the whole application process will be done by then, and we'll have all the papers to consider an award in April. Is that right, Stuart? Going on record here.
Yep. Yes, that's correct. That's correct, Councillor. Sorry, I was just struggling to get my mic home there. Yes, that's correct. We'll have the applications to you in April.
I thought you were about to claim a broken mic there.
No, it's more a mouse problem than a mic problem.
All right, good stuff. Well, thank you very much.
John,
Councillor
John,
McEwen's got a hand up.
Kathy's hands up.
yeah,
All right,
John,
Kathy.
just to finish off, how much is that left then now that's going to be put to the pond? Just so that I know exactly
Well,
what's going there.
There was a couple of £1,000 from the Arkles New Means over 60s, so that takes it down to about just over 37, and then whatever's coming out of the Our Place, Our Families, which is probably about, I don't know, £1,000, £1,500. We'll come up with a figure. So there'll be 36,000 going towards it, Kathy.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Kerry, you're looking for news there.
I did a wee quick figures. So if we pay, if you award Our Place, Our Families, the equipment as suggested, remove the volunteer expenses as suggested, and prorata the ingredients and the rent as suggested, then that comes to £1,451.98.
I was £49 out. Do you see that? No.
Well, I thought I'd give you an
you.
accurate figure.
No, that's
good
brilliant.
maths, Kerry.
Thank you very much. So there's £3,300 coming off the 39, whatever it was. So it'll be about £36,000, Kathy. All right.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
See you later.
Right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
There's John.